Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this late Sunday night. Trump blasts Democrats' deranged tax return witch hunt, and cause an incoming GOP House to obtain Biden financial records. In his latest campaign video, President Donald Trump blasts Democrats were releasing his personal tax returns and calls on the incoming Republican-led House of Representatives to obtain and release Joe Biden's financial records. On Tuesday, the Democrat-led House Means and Ways Committee voted along party lines to release Trump's tax returns. Within hours, it published data from Trump's 2015 to 2020 tax returns. The committee obtained the documents through an appeals court ruling that ordered Trump to turn them over following a years-long legal battle. The 45th president had filed a request with the Supreme Court to block the ruling, but it was denied just last month. Trump, the lone Republican candidates thus far in the 2024 GOP primary field, blasted the radical Democrats on Friday for the move, asserting that it is in, quote, outrageous abuse of power, and that the documents only show how successful he has been. Quote, the new Republican House should immediately obtain the financial records of Joe Biden and his entire criminal enterprise because that's exactly what it is. Biden is a corrupt politician who spent years selling on America all over the world, including to communist China. Just take a look at his accounts, take a look at all of his homes, and take a look at what his son Hunter has contributed to the family. The American public deserves to know the truth. We should also get to the bottom line of how Biden, on a salary of a U.S. senator, was able to buy one mansion after another, all these different locations. When I'm president, we will expose the Washington cartel and we will make America great again. In the video, Trump contrast in his work as a real estate mogul and entrepreneur who has employed, quote, thousands and thousands of people over the years to career politicians in Washington, D.C. who, quote, only know how to kill jobs, while others use public office to enrich themselves. I left an amazing life behind to go and fight for the American people. And I'm glad I did it. He said. He concludes, quote, it hasn't been easy, but I'm glad I did it. TikTok's Chinese parent company admits it spied on us journalists. An inquiry into TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance found that employees of the company obtained the private user data of us journalists. The startling admission is part of a larger revelation on how the Chinese company spies on Americans. ByteDance staffers on a team reportedly tasked with monitoring employee conduct obtain access to the IP addresses and other data of us journalists, as well as some people connected to the reporters via their TikTok accounts. In an attempt to figure out who or the Chinese company had been leaking information to journalists, the ByteDance employees who gain access to the IP addresses and other data were trying to find out if those individuals were in the same physical proximity of ByteDance employees. The company said the investigation into ByteDance, which was conducted by an outside law firm, has started after it was revealed in October via documents obtained by Forbes that the Chinese company had planned to use TikTok to monitor the physical location of specific American citizens. One ByteDance employee on the monitoring team has since resigned and another 3 employees were fired. 2 of the employees were based in China and the other 2 were in the United States. The journalists targeted by employees of the company owned by a hostile foreign country wrote for BuzzFeed and the Financial Times, ByteDance said, but refused to disclose the identity of the reporters. Meanwhile, the U.S. government and TikTok are undergoing negotiations, which have been delayed due to national security concerns involving ByteDance and its access to the private user data of Americans. Donnie Deutsch says American hero Liz Cheney is presidential timber. MSNBC contributor Donnie Deutsch said that outgoing Representative Liz Cheney was an American hero and potential future president. He said, quote, she's truly, I think, the American hero of the year as far as Americans go. She lost her job. It's one thing to go out on a line and stand up and take a stand. It's another thing when you're sacrificing. This is the whole problem we see with Republicans. Not one of them realize if they stood up, a lot of them will lose their job, and she lost her job. She will be a politician on the scene for decades to come. She could be presidential timber in the future, but I think that her brand is as strong as any political brand out there. You gotta give her kudos every way, shape, or form. She put on a stunning performance. Biden administration lawsuit forces Arizona to remove shipping containers along border. The state of Arizona agreed to remove miles of shipping containers placed along the border with Mexico. The agreement came as part of an ongoing lawsuit filed by the Biden administration after Governor Doug Ducey ordered the makeshift barriers along the border. Earlier this year, Governor Ducey ordered the construction of border barriers utilizing shipping containers. The state provided funding for the project with a $564 million spending bill signed in June. The bill dedicated funds to pay for the physical barriers, additional public safety and more technology and public safety equipment in response to the border crisis created by the federal government. In October, the U.S. Department of the Interior ordered Governor Ducey to remove the containers placed on federal land. Quote, "The unauthorized placement of those containers constitutes a violation of federal law and is a trespass against the United States." The letter stated it continues, quote, "that trespass is harming federal lands and resources and is impeding the Bureau of Reclamation ability to perform its mission." The governor's office responded that they were, quote, "weighing their options." Quote, "It took the Fed since August to write a letter. If this is any indication of their sense of urgency, that perhaps that explains the problem we're having." Arizona governor's communication director said talks leading to the barrier removal project are to begin next week, the court document states. New Jersey governor signs a bill limiting where concealed carriers can be armed for self-defense. Governor Phil Murphy signed legislation on Thursday, limiting the locations in which concealed carry permit holders can be armed for self-defense, but gun control was passed in reaction to SCOTUS's June 23, 2022 decision which struck down New York's proper clause requirements for concealed carry permit issuance. The legislation of 4769 creates, quote, "sensitive places in which firearms cannot be carried." The sensitive places include schools, courthouses, childcare centers, nursing homes, polling places, government buildings, hospitals, bars and restaurants where alcohol is served, airports, parks, beaches, demonstrations, movie theaters, casinos and other entertainment centers. 84764 also requires the acquisition of liability insurance for those who carry handguns in public for self-defense. Murphy committed on the new gun control, saying, quote, "What kind of state we want to be? Do we want to be like Mississippi or Alabama, whose firearm death rates are nearly 5 times ours? Or do we want to remain a state where people can actually be and feel safe? This law ensures that no matter what Washington might throw at us, we will keep doing everything we can to ensure the safety of our citizens." Close quote. The NRA filed a lawsuit against the New Jersey gun controls after Murphy signed the bill. At the Department of Homeland Security, feds failed to collect 1,000s of security cards from ex-employees, while it was dabbling with disinformation offices and censorship projects. The Homeland Security Department failed to follow its most basic safety procedures and terminate the security credentials for 1,000s of its ex-employees. Its internal watchdog disclosed in a stinging report this week that rebuked years of inaction. The revelation from the DHS Inspector General means that the federal agency charged with protecting America from cyber and terrorist attacks left its own system vulnerable to security breaches by failing to terminate personal identity verification, PIB card access or withdraw security clearances. Quote, "There is a risk that individuals who no longer require access to systems and facilities could circumvent controls and enter DHS buildings and controlled areas," the watchdog warned. The report states, quote, "We determined that in 1,000s of cases, DHS did not promptly revoke PIB card access privileges or destroy PID cards of individuals who separated from the department. In addition, the DHS did not always promptly withdraw security clearances of individuals who separated from the DHS. Unfortunately, we could not determine the exact magnitude of the problem because records in DHS information systems were incomplete. The failure to follow procedures means the department cannot ensure only authorized employees and contractors have access to its control systems and facilities." Close quote. And this is some big news. Saudi Arabia warns the world one small hiccup and the price of oil and gas will skyrocket. Democrats and a few Republicans pass the massive $1.7 trillion spending bill. Zelensky tells Ukraine the United States will back us forever, and Putin calls his special military operation war for the first time this year. Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has attacked former President Donald Trump's reputation in a new interview with NBC News. On that interview, McConnell stated, "Here's what I think has changed. I think the former president's political clout has diminished." McConnell further blamed Trump for Republicans' poor performance in the midterm elections. He stated we lost support that we needed among independents and moderate Republicans, primarily related to the view that they had us as a party largely made up of the former president, that we were sort of nasty and tended towards chaos. Now, let me know what you think about Mitch McConnell. Is he right, and that Trump has lost his political clout, and the Republican Party should move on? Or did Mitch McConnell contribute to some of the losses that Republicans encountered in the midterm election? Earlier this month, Dr. Anthony Fauci said that COVID would come back with a vengeance, and that if it got out of control, we would see greater mutations. So be careful during these holidays, take the precautions that you think that you need. Meanwhile, China is dealing with COVID outbreaks, and they are looking at locking down cities all over again. About 37 million people have COVID. As of right now in the country of China, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has addressed his own people after returning home from Washington, D.C. after a meeting with President Joe Biden. He stated, "We are returning from Washington. We are coming with good results, with something that will really help. I thank President Biden for his help, his international leadership, and his determination to win. I am grateful to Congress of the United States, both houses, both parties, all who support Ukraine, all who want victory as much as we do. We will be victory." The United States and Ukraine are now on the same page, as President Biden has stated, "We will support Ukraine for as long as it takes." Now I noticed the American taxpayer really fronting the bill got no credit, only the president and Congress. But we are making major sacrifices in order to help Ukraine. So I want to acknowledge that to everybody that watches me. After this meeting, Russian President Vladimir Putin stopped referring to the war as a special military operation and called it war for the first time. Putin stated, "Our goal is not to spin this flywheel of military conflict, but on the contrary, to end this war. This is what we are striving for." While both Putin and Zelensky want the war to end, both have different outcomes in mind. Zelensky wants to rid Ukraine of everything to do with Russia, while Russia would like to keep the territories that they have gained as basically the spoils of war. But many now believe that this war could go on for a very long time. And we will see what Ukraine does to continue to defend itself. But Putin going forward is now referring to this as a war. The CEO of Saudi Aramco, the largest oil producer in Saudi Arabia, has issued a warning that oil prices could see a huge surge in price in 2023, something we absolutely don't need, but he says the entire world should be worried. With China reopening and airlines around the world demanding more and more jet fuel, any hiccup could disrupt the supply chain and cause the small amount of spare capacity we have now to go away. He said, "If we lose this ground, we will see oil prices spike and gas prices at the pump rise dramatically." Now I'm not sure if he's genuinely giving the world hold leaders a heads up, or if this the Saudi Arabia's way of sowing seeds that price increases are coming, and that we could see a downturn in production. Either way, many people were startled by this announcement that the world needs to be worried about gas prices surging in 2023. The stock market seems to be shrugging this off as most indexes are green today. Gold and silver are also slightly up as the market seems to want to go into Christmas weekend on a positive note. The governor of Arizona is being forced to take down the $80 million border wall he built using shipping containers. Most Republicans praised him and said thank you for defending the border and what a creative way to protect the country. He, however, was told by the federal government in the Biden administration that it is their job to protect the border, not his, with Title 42 being lifted next week, and tens of thousands of illegal immigrants expected to flood the border. The federal government wants these makeshift border walls torn down for safety reasons. Now the White House has reassured the American public there is no border crisis, and that all is well in the United States. But I think most of us see the truth. This isn't about safety. This is about allowing illegal immigrants into the country in an easier manner. Let me know your thoughts down below. Are we being gaslit? Being told there's no border crisis? You're crazy. There's no drug crisis at the border. You're crazy. Or are they just saying this as spin and really the country's in trouble? Let me know your thoughts down below. Trump's tax returns were finally released, and they showed that he paid no income tax during his final year as president. Despite making millions of dollars, his income was a net loss, due to a massive deduction from his real estate business. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden said this is a much bigger issue than Donald Trump. Trump's returns likely look similar to those of many wealthy tax cheats. Hundreds of partnership interests highly questionable, deducted deductions and debts that can be shifted around to wipe out tax liability. Trump angrily pushed back against the release of his returns and vowed to treat Biden with the same disrespect he's been treated with. He stated the new Republican House should immediately obtain the financial records of Joe Biden and his entire criminal enterprise because that's exactly what it is. Biden is a corrupt politician who spent years selling out America all over the world, including to communist China. Just take a look at his accounts. Just a look at all of his homes and take a look at what his son Hunter has contributed to the family. The American public deserves to know the truth. We should also get to the bottom line on how Biden, on the salary of a U.S. senator, was able to buy one mansion after another, in all these different locations. When I'm president, we will expose the Washington cartel and we will make America great again. Now I go into great detail in today's other video about Trump's taxes and what they found in there, so make sure to go check out that video. Lastly, the House of Representatives has passed the $1.7 trillion spending bill with 225 yeses and 201 noes. 9 Republicans joined Democrats in passing this massive spending bill, while Representative AOC was the only Democrat to vote against it. It will now be sent to President Biden's desk and signed into law. This means that the government, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will all be funded with this newly printed money for 2023. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. If you're up for it, I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.